Hey, so one of the biggest questions I get from parents is how do I get my kids to practice or they're not really practicing? It's kind of a problem. So today what I want to do in this video is I want to give you 5 different tips to hopefully bring your students from not practicing or not enjoying practicing to practicing and loving their instrument. Let's jump in. So I normally do videos on music production and songwriting and guitar, but today I thought I'd change it up and do this topic, and hopefully it will help parents out there. I've been teaching music for over 20 years for private guitar lessons and piano lessons and drum lessons. So I've found this to be helpful over the years. So the first tip is instrument location. So putting the instrument in a place in the house where the student is going to be a lot of the time. With our son, we actually put 2 keyboards in the house. We put one in the living room and then one in his bedroom. So when he was younger, he was downstairs with us a lot, and he was walking by the piano all the time and just kind of sitting down and playing it. And he wouldn't even touch the one up in his room. Now that he's a little bit older, he's up in his room more and he plays it by himself in his room, and we actually removed the one from the downstairs. So try experimenting with a different location for the instrument where the student is going to be most of the time. The second tip is to give them music they enjoy, so that they want to play. They're excited about playing. Music is supposed to be fun. You know, with myself, I know that I started out in drums in 5th grade, and I actually didn't like it at all. I didn't like the music. I didn't really know what to do, so I ended up quitting. And then later on, in 8th or 9th grade, I heard Van Halen play on the guitar, and I was completely mesmerized and practiced all the time because I wanted to play music like that. So I think it's really important that the kind of music you play, because you can learn the fundamentals of music appreciation, of music theory, no matter what style. So have a conversation with your teacher. If you're struggling with practicing, maybe you can change it up and try a different style of music that the students are going to really like. Hey, if you don't know me, my name is Eric Miller. I'm a music teacher, a studio owner, and a composer. And if you're finding value in this video, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the subscribe button. Tip number 3 is to practice a small amount every day at a specific time. So it's far better to practice 10 or 15 minutes a day and do that 5 days a week versus once a week for 2 hours. You're going to find that you get more momentum built up, and it's just better for you to practice and improve your skills. I knew one family that found that if they practice every morning before school for only 10 or 15 minutes and they hopped on the piano, they made a lot of progress, and it was actually a great time for them, and they developed a new habit. It became a routine for them, and it was really good. So try just doing that a short amount of time every day. Okay, tip number 4 is song repetition versus time practiced. So for example, if you have a 7-year-old and you tell them to practice for 15 minutes, they may not do that, or they might not have a concept of what 15 minutes is. But if you tell them to practice their song 10 times or 5 times, or if they have 3 songs assigned to them that week, maybe have them practice each one 5 times. And then they can mark that down. That will be much more easier for them to get through, to practice, to understand than a certain amount of set time. So tip number 5 is to change it up. So maybe none of these tips are working, or if you've tried some of these tips, try some of this, change it up. So perhaps they've been working from a book. Maybe you need to change directions and do pop songs, or play something new kind of music you haven't been playing at all yet. Or even change up the direction of your lessons. So if you've been working on songs and that's you're hitting a little bit of a roadblock, maybe you can start to work on songwriting. Have the teacher work on just music composition with the students, or recording. You can try my new music production 101 course. So changing it up is important. I think it brings life to the music lessons and also to the process of learning music. And you can also even change it up with their instrument. So for example, maybe they need to change their instrument altogether. Or even if they're going for lessons and your teacher offers this, you can do, let's say, 20 minutes of piano and 15 minutes of drums, or 5 or 10 minutes of guitar or something. Just a little bit of something different to re-excite them, to reinvigorate them, to enjoy their music, to gain a new experience, a fresh perspective from another instrument. And oftentimes, I think that students might start out on one instrument, but then eventually end up on a completely different instrument. Not all the time, but sometimes. It happened in my case. I started off on drums, but I ended up focusing more on guitar. But it can be a good experience for the students to try different instruments, especially if they're getting bored or they're reaching a roadblock with their current instrument. I hope this helps and gives you some fresh perspectives on practicing and inspiration for your kids to practice. I think if you can teach your students to love music, you really have a player for life. So if you have a question or comment, please leave a comment in the description below, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care.